Welcome to our Mountain View Baptist Church Kids YouTube page. Today we're going to read a story for our little ones called The Friend Who Forgives. Even some of our bigger kids may like this story. It's a very exciting story about fishermen. But before we do that, let's sing a little song. How many of you know the song, Jesus Loves the Little Ones Like Me, Me, Me? Let's try that one. Jesus loves the little ones like me, me, me. Jesus loves the little ones like me, me, me. Little ones like me, sat upon his knee. Jesus loves the little ones like me, me, me. Jesus loves the little ones like you, you, you. Jesus loves the little ones like you, you, you. Little ones like you, Jesus loves you too. Jesus loves the little ones like you, you, you.
What did Pastor say?
I love that Brother Cobb started this, what did Pastor say? So, what did Pastor say today about a man who knew what the will of God was, but he didn't do it? He talked about several people, but one of the people he talked about was Peter. This story is called The Friend Who Forgives. The Friend Who Forgives, a true story about how Peter failed and Jesus forgave. The story is written by Dan DeWitt and it's illustrated by Catalina Eicheverry. A long time ago, there was a man named Peter who was best friends with Jesus. Peter was a fisherman. He was strong and brave, but he often said the wrong thing. Do you ever talk before you think? I know I do. Well, that's what Peter did again and again and again. Peter loved fish. In fact, one day he and Jesus had fish for breakfast. Fish for breakfast? That's weird. But we'll save that part of the story until the end. One day, when Jesus first called Peter to follow him, can you guess what Peter was doing? If you guessed that Peter was fishing, that's right. Peter was fishing. Follow me, and I will make you a fisher of men, Jesus told him. Can you imagine that? Peter fishing for men? Jesus explained that just as Peter liked to search for fish, Jesus had come to search for people who needed forgiveness. Peter loved being friends with Jesus, and he saw Jesus do lots of amazing things. One time, Peter's mother-in-law was sick, and Jesus healed her. Another time, Peter was about to drown in a storm, and Jesus saved him. Slowly, Peter realized that Jesus was more than a friend. He was God. He would never let Peter down. But sometimes Peter let Jesus down, like the time Jesus explained to his friends that he had to die on the cross, but that he would come back to life to offer forgiveness. All of you will run away. You're going to say that you're not my friends, Jesus said. Peter spoke up right away. He did that a lot. I will never do that, Peter said. But Jesus told him, before the rooster crows in the morning, you will say 3 times that you're not my friend. I'll never do that. Jesus is my best friend, Peter thought. When the soldiers came to take Jesus to the cross, Peter pulled out his sword to stop them. Put your sword away, Peter, Jesus said. My Father says that this must happen. Jesus let the soldiers take him to a courtyard to stand trial. Peter followed from far away. Aren't you one of Jesus' friends? A young girl asked as she opened the gate for Peter to enter the courtyard. What do you think Peter said? No, I don't know Jesus. It was a cold night, so Peter walked over to a fire where some people were warming themselves. Aren't you one of Jesus's friends? Someone asked Peter. What do you think Peter said? No, I don't know Jesus. Then someone else stepped forward and looked closely at Peter. Yes, you are one of Jesus' friends, aren't you? He said. What do you think Peter said? No, I don't know Jesus. Right then, at that very moment, a rooster crowed. Jesus turned around and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered that Jesus had said, "Before the rooster crows, you will say 3 times that you are not my friend." Peter was so sad. He knew he had failed Jesus again and again and again. He didn't just need to find other people who needed forgiving. He needed forgiving too. Peter felt terrible. He ran out of the courtyard and he cried and cried and cried. Peter had let his best friend down, and now it was too late because the soldiers had taken Jesus away to be killed. But Peter didn't stay sad because Jesus didn't stay dead. 3 days later was the first Easter Sunday when Jesus came back to life to offer people forgiveness. But would he forgive Peter for failing so badly? One day, Jesus went looking for Peter. And where do you think Jesus found him? That's right. Peter and his friends were fishing. Jesus called to them from the beach. Peter jumped out of the boat and rushed to the beach to see Jesus. And this is where Peter and Jesus had fish for breakfast. Fish for breakfast? That's weird. Peter was so happy to see Jesus alive. But would Jesus forgive him? Peter wasn't sure. Maybe Jesus wouldn't want to talk to him. Maybe Jesus wouldn't want to be friends with him anymore. But yes, Jesus did want to talk to Peter. And yes, Jesus did want to forgive Peter. Wow. Since Peter had said he didn't know Jesus 3 times, Jesus gave Peter a chance to say 3 times, "I love you, Jesus." That's how Peter became a forgiven fisher of men. Peter spent the rest of his life telling people about his best friend, Jesus. He told them that if they put their trust in Jesus, he would forgive them again and again and again. That's because Jesus was Peter's best friend. He forgave him again and again and again. And if you trust in Jesus, he will forgive you too, again and again and again. This book is one of the tales that tell the truth. How do we know about the friend who forgives? The 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all tell us about Peter's exciting friendship with Jesus. But then Jesus was arrested, and Peter pretended 3 times he didn't even know Jesus. We find that in Luke chapter 22, verse 60 through 62. Then Jesus was killed on the cross, and it seemed like the end of everything. But Jesus didn't stay dead. Luke chapter 24 and verse 6. The last chapter in John's Gospel tells us that Jesus came to find Peter and to forgive him. John chapter 21, verse 1 through 19. 3 times Jesus asked, "Do you love me?" And 3 times Peter answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." That's how Peter became a forgiven fisher of men. From then on, Peter told other people about Jesus and how they could be forgiven too, again and again and again. We can read about how Peter told other people about Jesus in Acts chapter 2, verse 38, and Acts chapter 10, verse 43. Peter even wrote part of the Bible for us so that we could hear him telling us about the friend who forgives. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18 through 21, and chapter 3, verse 18. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notifications about when we read new books and also when we have Sunday school and children's church and chapel and even a moment with a teacher or a Sunday school teacher called our devotion time. So, if you really enjoyed this particular story, you can buy Tales That Tell the Truth from thegoodbook.com. Thegoodbook.com has all of the stories called The Tales That Tell the Truth. And there's all kinds of exciting stories like this one, The Friend Who Forgives, and the one we read before, Jesus in the Lion's Den. Next week, we're going to read the story, Goodbye to Goodbyes. Have you ever had to tell anybody goodbye? Maybe you had to tell your friends goodbye at school and now you haven't seen them in a long time. Maybe you had to tell Grandma and Grandpa goodbye, or maybe you've even had to say a long, long goodbye if someone died. But the Bible tells us that Jesus came to say goodbye to every goodbye. That's a very exciting story, so make sure you come next week and watch Goodbye to Goodbyes.